Hello, this is Crystal Racing here, looking through my Formula 1 collection. So, of course, what you're looking at here is a book I got when I was very young from my dad about a rough guide to the Formula 1 2004 season, written by Bruce Smith. Very tatty. It's mostly about, what happened in the 2003 season, actually, because, of course, it was kind of a 2003 review along with being a 2004 review book. You know, all the drivers, teams, circuits and all that stuff. Apologies for being struggling a bit so far, but of course looking at my video game collection, Colin McRae Rally 2005, Dirt, Colin McRae 2, love this game to death. 04 Ford Racing 2. Would you look at that? Absolutely brilliant old school classics. And of course a review. And of course a guide inside. Then of course F1 2002. Of course very tatty as well. Got the CD inside. Got all the corners in it. Vehicle weight and all the stuff. Then of course Need for Speed Road Challenge, but I never played it because the graphics didn't work on my old computer and frankly it just looked really bad. And then of course looking into my drawer. Apologies for all of this. Of course Toka Race Driver, my all-time favourite game. Right here, yep, Ryan McCain, Donnie McCain. Of course, the race driver CDs, race log, and all that stuff. And of course, looking inside here, the Formula 1 yearbook 2004 to 5. Yep, full. Look at this, high quality drawings by Giorgio Pilola. Of course, Ferrari, Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, Williams, BMW, Pablo Montoya, and Ralph, David Coulthard, and of course the GOAT himself. And of course, let's just read it right here. He speaks. After taking a well-deserved victory in the 2000 the Belgian Grand Prix on a type of circuit where a driver counts more than his equipment, the Iceman almost melted in a press conference and answered questions in whole sentences rather than single words. Was the McLaren PR machine finally having an effect? Possibly not, as in Brazil, where he had a great drive to second place, where he asked about the team's new deal with Nescafe. He made the mistake of admitting he did not drink coffee. As for his driving, same as ever, quick, committed, brave and stylish. He is possibly the only man who can really trouble Michael Schumacher on a regular basis. So please, Mr. Dennis, please give Kimi a call worthy of his talent in 2005. And of course, look at Renault. Look at that hairband with Fernando Alonso. In 2003, Alonso had been a rising star of the sport, but 12 months on, the Spaniard did not look so good. It was as if his newfound fame and status gone to his head, and for the first part of the year, he was put in the shade by Trulli. Alonso also seemed to struggle with a one-lap quality format, making a couple of costly errors, and towards the end of the year, it seemed all the fuss about Trulli's departure also affected his concentration. However, he always gave his all in a car. That was not the easiest to deal with over a race distance, but the man from Oviedo is still very young and an undoubted talent. Go up against Fisichella next season will sharpen him up and show his true worth. Well, and look at that. Jensen Button and Takuma Sato, BAO Honda. Look at those drawings by Giorgio Piola. Look at that. High quality stuff. Oh yeah. Jake Corner, Fisichella and Felipe Massa. Look at that beautiful Sauber, eh? Jaguar, their last season in Formula 1. Mark Webber there. Christian Klein, of course. More good drawings by Giorgio. Toyota. Oh, look at those three. They're last year in F1. Because they got binned off of Ralph and Trulli. Jordan. Nick Heidfeld, and of course the unlucky Giorgio Pantano. And is that Timo Glock? Would you have a look at that? Is that Timo? Yes, it is. Minardi, Jim, Jean-Marie Bruni, and Zoltan gone at their only full season in F1. And of course, Minardi's penultimate season in the sport. Flavio Briatore, the good friend. Mercedes nearly bought McLaren and BMW almost threw in the towel. In Italy, when one says Ferrari, one means Fiat. Well, of course, Fiat don't own Ferrari, so... Black or white, what do you think? Of course, Jacques Villeneuve came back for in time for the Chinese Grand Prix. And a rare picture of him leading Alonso. Oh yeah, look at that. In his dad's old Ferrari. Making the difference with Takuma Sato. The 1964 World Championship, Surtees and Ferrari by a whisker. Of course, Surtees won the championship because of the drop point score, giving him the championship over Graham Hill, who actually scored more points that year. And more pictures again. Look at that, 6 bloody pages. Great girls! Those were the days. Look at those exhaust pipes, sexy, sexy. Jordan again. Oh, would you look at that? All the drivers gazing out of their helmets. Oh, would you look at Anthony Davidson's special car livery. Michael starts the ball rolling with pole boring race. Rory dominate yawn. Oh, look at that. Look at that high definition photo of David Coulthard cutting the grass. Breaching track limits, of course. Man, I used to stare at these pictures for hours on end back in the day. Alright, okay. Alright, yeah, I'm filming something. Bahrain, look at how bloody dry and arid the whole place looked. Ferrari score home win, boring. Of course. Valentino Rossi astonishes Ferrari. Look at him on December, who had promised him an F1 test on the Wednesday before San Marino. Rossi arrived at Maranello around 900 hours. He did a few laps of the track, visited the factory, and then covered a few more laps. In his 35 laps, his best time was 59.59 seconds. 3.5 seconds off the lap record held by Michael Schumacher. For someone who had never driven an F1 car, his performance was mind-blowing. In general, a driver who is used to single-seaters generally needs a day to get used to the braking acceleration of an F1. On Wednesday, Luca Badoa got around in 58.4 seconds. That's just over a second faster than Rossi, which only goes to underline Rossi's exploit. Schumacher congratulated him and gave him a signed helmet. Other top MotoGP riders on the go. 5 years ago, 1999, Max Biaggi lapped the Fiorano track in a 1 minute 06.5 when Schumacher held the record at a 1 minute 0.7. Well, as it was, it ramped up a lot of speculation that Valentino Rossi could have a go at Formula 1. 5th win in a row, boring. Would you look at that, the old Catalonia track. Oh, look at who it is. the beautiful man himself. Yoro Trulli's victory, yeah. And of course Ocean 12. Ralph Schumacher. That's Luca Padoa, I don't know why they're showing that. Boring. More bikinis for you pervs. Oh dear, Ralph Schumacher's big crash. Oh, F1 in the... Kimmy, oh, sorry, would you look at that second place and pole position for the Iceman? Look at that, leading at the front. Mark today's final F1 Grand Prix. And, would you look at that, even Eddie Jordan's daughter had to go at being a grid go at one point. Oh look, Gordo Trulli having a run around a track. Olivier Panis, Giancarlo Fisichella. Kimi wins, yes, Kimi wins at Spa, and look at the first lap. Absolute shenanigans, Trulli took pole in away. But Schumacher clinched the championship, as we all knew. Barrichello won at Monza. Of course, Olivier Panis announced his retirement. Takuma Sato. Christian Klein. Very nice shot there. First race at China, Barrichello wins. Damn those oh, what did you look at that? China back at Shanghai back in the day. And of course the next race was Japan, Takuma's home race. Of course his teammate got on the podium instead though, and of course it was Yoro Trulli's. Yoro Trulli came back to race for Toyota after being sacked by Renault. End of the road for Coulthard, yes it was. Montoya wins the last race of the season. Mark Webber drives Jaguar's last ever race and got taken out by Christian Klein. Sauber against Ferrari. On Saturday evening, a communique signed by all the teams except Ferrari was surreptitiously handed out in Interlagos. An initiative to reduce costs is a substantial and tangible manner. The main gist of the text was the reduction of private testing between the Grand Prix to cope with the extra expenses caused by extending the season to 19 races. Reading between the lines, it was obvious there was a desire to impose a single tyre manufacturer aimed at limiting tyre testing. Naturally, Ferrari is against such a proposal. We've invested in circuits for private testing, as we, of course, Maranello and Ferraro, as we feel its best tool for developing our cars. Counter-attack Luca Coligliani. The 9 teams cannot get their initiative passed without unanimity. First, Ferrari can block it. In this context, Peter Sauber found himself in a dilemma. However, his close links with Ferrari, which supplied him with the engine and gearbox, did not prevent him from signing a communique, which was basically anti-Scuderia. The man from Zurich published a communique explaining how difficult was it for him to sign the cost reduction initiative. The signature does not constitute an action against Ferrari, clarified Peter. The reduction in cost is vital for the future of Formula 1. And I mean, yeah, this is just summing up the whole season, really. But Grand Prix racing is not communism, hey! Oh yeah, because of course the whole Grand Prix World Championship thing was still hanging over everyone's head at this time. And of course, I've started to see some photo of all the drivers. And the sporting regulations all written around the back here. I mean, it's pretty... I mean, of course, today's modern sporting regulations are now 3 times as long because, of course, F1 just gets more stupid every year. Would you look at this? Formula 1 yearbook. 2003 to 4, Michael Schumacher's record-breaking 6th championship edition. And look at how I've torn up the whole cover really badly because, of course, 12-year-old me never knew how to look after anything properly. Forward with Fernando Alonso. As you can imagine, the 2003 season was one I will never forget. In July 2002, when Flav told me I'd be racing for the team, I would never dare hope for an incredible year. Of course, I knew I'd be trying my best. I knew I had the ability to succeed, but above all, I knew that in Formula 1 there is a huge gulf between hope and reality. Before embarking on this season, it would have seemed too optimistic to think about winning a Grand Prix. However, come the end of the year, it seems my craziest hope have more than met. It's incredible to think I took 2 pole positions and actually won a race. I finished 6th in the championship and became the youngest driver ever to take pole and win a race. There were other great moments like demonstrating my Renault in the streets of Madrid in front of a crowd and finishing 2nd in my speech box Grand Prix in Barcelona. Of course, a season like that is down to the efforts of the entire team. It is the result of work carried out by hundreds of men and women who have given their all this year. It's this work, much of it of the line like back in the lot factory as well as the racetracks, thousands of hours dedicated from our engineers, technicians, mechanics, which allowed us to finish 4th. I cannot find all the words, blah 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 blah. Of course, would you look at that? Michael Schumacher standing next to the F2003 GA and Rubens Barrichello. A tough fight by Didier Brallon by L'Equipe. The 2 faces of Pablo Montoya, of course, we all know Montoya was a hothead. Kimi Raikkonen, the main man again. Good points and bad points. Bridgestone played solitaire. Of course, they were accused for Ferrari's lack of form in the summer, when, of course, Schumacher only picked up 8 points from Nürburgring until Hungary. But then, of course, come the end of the 50-day-long testing ban, Ferrari arrived at Monza, testing no less than 25 combinations of tyre compound, using 800 tyres. Oh, man. The Japanese manufacturer opted to center most of its test programs on its top team, to the detriment of his other partners BAR, Jordan, Sauber and Minardi, hence why, of course, BAR then went to Michelin for 2004. Michelin adopted the opposite policy. In order to develop its product as quickly as possible, it relied equally on Williams, McLaren, Renault, Toyota and Jaguar. Of course, as we all know, of course, we all knew that Michelin had to design new tyres for Monza because, of course, their tyres were too big thanks to the Bridgestone and Ferrari protesting. More drawings by Giorgio Pirola. The infamous McLaren 18 nose, which, of course, never appeared because, well... And, of course, the hands colour. Yeah, big controversy because, of course, a lot of drivers such as Villeneuve, Coulthard and Barrichello said it made their cockpits too tight. More drawings again. Ferrari, Williams, McLaren. Through the magic of the new points allocation system, Kimi was Michael Schumacher's only rival come the final race, even though he had won that only 1 win in Sepang back in March. It was the first of his career, followed by his first pole at Nürburgring, but none of this seemed to move him. His temperament meant he was never really disappointed, nor was he ever ecstatic. In fact, the Iceman made his compatriot predecessor at McLaren, Mika Häkkinen, seem like an over-emotional extrovert. Raikkonen still lacked a perfect understanding of technical nuances of the sport, and although capable of beating him on the track, he still relies on David Coulthard, who helped him have a great season. Old Ports. After 2 wins to kick off the season, courtesy of Coulthard in Melbourne and Raikkonen in Sepang, the FIA's spring cleaning of the sporting regulations seemed to have really moved the goalposts. The Mp417D, an evolution of the 2002 car, had some Mp4 18 parts attached, seeming to. But the new car, a masterpiece of minimalism, was running late and first turned the wheel in May, with his race debut constantly put back before being canned conclusively. Ron then announced the 2004 car would definitely be an MP419, and the current car was not actually that old, as it was in a constant state of evolution. It must have really grated the nerves of a man who always strives for perfection. He was right though, as the new car featured new suspension, electronics and rear bodywork, but you don't always make the best soup in old pans. Renault, oh look at that suit on Alonso. Of course, say this is a bit of a scathing review for Yolo Truddy. A painful year. Ironically, his only podium came at Hockenheim, where the team had strung up some garlic to save on bad luck and deal with flu, which saw the driver collapse, physically exhausted at the end of the race, up against the immense talent of Alonso, whom he gets on famously. Truddy experienced on two-sided season. In practice and qualifying, he was quick to set up his car and shone when it came to being super quick over one lap. In the races, he rarely made the most of his equipment disposal. He was not consistent enough, and he was prone to deep depression when he felt things were not going his way. Sometimes he was the architect of his downfall. Wow. Look at that, Sauber, Prence's last season. Jordan. Well, poor old Giancarlo took his first win at Brazil, but was deprived of celebrating on a podium because of a cock-up by the FIA when it came to studying the tyre screens. He was first awarded second place before taking his rightful place as winner 4 days later. It was a lucky win in a mad race, but it was a worthy reward for all the hard work, given that, in the opinion of many, he is one of the best drivers of the grid. But he flattered only to deceive. Fed up with driving a car which lacked speed through a lack of funding, he soon became half-hearted about his job, showing no fire in his belly. In similar circumstances, someone like Panis would have not thrown in a towel. Ooh. Ralph Furman, had he been an actor, he would have been Pierce Brosnan, but a man who had a double was often in double trouble on the track. When he was given a job, Eddie said he could be the surprise of the season. It was not to be. He is the son of a mechanic who worked for Emerson Fittipaldi before going on to set up the Van Diemen Racing Car Company. He came to Formula 1 with the previous year's Formula Nippon title in his pocket. In terms of driving style, he was erratic, never using the same line twice, and he was out of his depth. On top of that, he was unlucky enough to be injured in practice in Hungary and had to sit out 2 races. And look at that, Samba celebrating the Brazilian win in Italy. Good times. Mark Webber, and of course his first year at Jaguar. Antonio Pizzoni got sacked out of the way for, of course, none other than Justin Wilson. Young Jenson Button and a very angry looking Jax Villeneuve, who of course got told to jump out. 5 years after deciding he'd rather win the lottery, rather than go after more world titles, he has almost reached the end of the line and is no longer in control of his destiny. For those who sensed a welcome breath of fresh air when he first arrived in 1996, this is a terrible reversal of form, seems like a terrible waste. Others think it's a case of him reaping what he has sown in 99 when he embarked on the BAR adventure with Craig Pollock, friend turned team boss, to have fun without many obligations and to put plenty of money in his pockets. It's the law of supply and demand, was JV's justification. If I'm expensive, it's because someone has decided to pay me that amount. The only thing wrong with that argument was that the man paying the money was his manager and therefore in for a percentage. Good old Jax Villeneuve, eh? Minardi, Jost the wife beater Verstappen, and of course, rest in peace, Justin Wilson. Oh God, they described Justin Wilson as being a transvestian vampire. He financed this drive with Minardi by selling shares of himself on the stock market, promising untold riches to investors if his career took off. Displayed an aggressive racing nature, characterised by some demon starts. Went to Jaguar for the German Grand Prix. But of course, at Jaguar, he was sad. Nicholas Chiesa, for those wondering. Of course, Panis and D'Amata. And let's move on. Ferrari hold up Williams and McLaren. Nigel Roebuck. Yeah, got on my voice is going, sorry. I'm gonna just skim through this a bit more quickly. Jacques Villeneuve. A Dark Tuesday by Stéphane Maureen. There's a Quebec flag in Villeneuve's name. There's his dad winning the Canadian Grand Prix back in 1978. Jacques Villeneuve, the Japanese bit from Kenyo Shibata, Toyota and Honda. Michelin, 3 days with Pierre Dupuy, 72 hours of pure passion. Oh look, going up to some random go for whatever it was they used to sell at the Grand Prix paddock. And then of course, an overloaded weekend with Billy Olivier Panis coming to the motorhome to have some pancakes. Formula 1, an economic impact. Oh, look at that. I can't read that, but that's from the 1997 European Union Grand Prix. Alberto Ascari's 9 in a row. Look at all these Ferraris, eh? Well, not all Ferraris. I mean, the first two are Ferraris from 1950 and 51. Then the next two are Ferraris from 52 and 54. And then the bottom two is a Maserati 250F and the Lancia D50. Or, I think, what's it? Half of them were championship winning cars there. More great goals if you're... For those of you who are just like me. Jordan again. Yeah, more pictures. Look at that, Paul Verme. Kimi and Schumi giving it sick. Dennis outside the podium. Schumacher's front wing come off. Mark Webber. The youngsters are growing up. You know what this means. First time Grand Prix winner, Kimi Raikkonen. Yes. Alonso sitting on pole position for the race. Jos Verstappen swinging his bollocks off. Kimi doing what Kimi does. Fredson looking sad. Rain on the track. Barrichello on pole. Cars crashing out of the race. Race summary. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? All the drivers side by side, eh? Panis. Barrichello. Kimi and Ralph. McLaren grid girls. Jenson Button's nasty crash which meant he couldn't race. Montoya on top of the podium. Despite Ralph leading in the start, run down to turn 1 at Monaco. Giancarlo Fisichella having a shite race. Ozzy Osbourne. David Coulthard looking suave. Jack Villeneuve looking angry again. What could have been, eh? No, this was not fair. It was Kimi Raikkonen's first pole though. A lot of Toyota fans, of course, because it was Toyota's real home Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso got a lot of stick from Coulthard for showing up off the road late on in the race. Ralph won the race. Ralph won again, his last ever Grand Prix window at France. Silverstone. First corner incident, guess who got taken out? I prefer not to speak. Montoya won the race. Fernando Alonso's maiden win at Hungary. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? So Bamco made his Grand Prix debut when, of course, Furman had its crash. 300 Grand Prix for Minardi. Of course, the McLaren drivers renewed their contracts. Schumacher back on top. After, of course, Bridgestone protested Michelin tyres. Mark Genet stood in for Ralf Schumacher. Villeneuve at the end of his tether. Apparently he says Dave Richardson quit BAR. Well, it turned out to be it was Villeneuve who did. And of course, Kimi Raikkonen giving it everything. Frenzen's final pole. Kimi on pole. Frenzen's final podium, I beg your pardon. Race review. Frenzen about to be overtaken by Raikkonen, but he would finish on the podium anyway. Kimi and Justin Wilson, who would score his only points. Jensen retiring with an engine failure despite leading the race. Schumacher, 6-time world champion. History in the making. Yeah. And Kimi finishing just 2 points behind, having finished second in the race. Takuma Sato came in for Villeneuve and finished 6th. Looking to the future, Kimi will have to wait before becoming world champion, no matter, as the Finn has a long future ahead of him. Well, we're now, 18 years into the future and he's still in F1. Mental, eh? Villeneuve. Can't be arsed. And look at that. R.I.P. Justin Wilson. More spoiling regulations here. Kimi Raikkonen being shown on a Michelin advert. Would you look at that? The kid was a man in demand. Look at this. This order. What called Racing Cars Masterpieces of Engineering. My neighbour bought me this. Look at that old school Honda Accord. Oh god, this book is a mess. Jensen Button on the front cover. Mika Hakkinen, of course, and just giving an introduction about all sorts of things. The Bugatti Type 35, early 1920s. Mercedes W196. The Maserati 25F. The Cooper Climax. The Lotus Climax 25. And of course, look at those wings, eh? Jackie Stewart in the Tyrrell, Emerson Fittipaldi in the Lotus 72, the Renault Turbo, Niki Lauda leading, Ayrton Senna, Jarno Trulli blowing his engine, Ayrton Senna again, Johnny Herbert in a Jaguar. Look at this paint drawing of all the aerodynamics over the Ferrari. Jacques Villeneuve in the beer Honda. The Mclaren Mp4, the Saps Micasolo, the BAR. Benetton and Prost crashing into each other, Verts and Trulli. Formula 3000. Look at that. The Lola with the 3-litre Z-Tech engine. Jean-Pierre Jarier in the Schnitzer BMW powered March. Stafford Sarrazin and all these random junior drivers who all forgot they're all in their 50s now. Formula 3, look at that. Jensen Button in the lead at Macau. Look at that old little Cooper. And look at that. You could literally just pull the old bodywork off what was the Alpine Renault from 1972. Alan Jones here driving a March. Nick Heidfeld in his old Opel. Start of the Thruxton race at the British Formula 3 with Barrichello and Pole. Mark Webber. Champ cars, otherwise known as Indy cars. Look at that. Colin Chapman's Lotus made for the Indy 500. And of course the start of the race of the pace car in front of Jim Clark, Bob Marsh, Bernard, Roger Ward. The Cosman, the Curtis Craft. Look at that, a demonstration of how the supercharged compared to the turbocharged. The Ilmore built Mercedes 1994 engine, which of course caused a lot of controversy because of course Penske used it to win the championship. Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi and Robbie Gordon, Graham Hill. The Lola chassis. What was it? What's that, Lola or is it? Oh yeah, it was the Lola, even though it was used by the Gallas team. And look how they did refueling right on top of the car with Max Papis. Alex Zanardi, the main man. Indy Racing League, oh dear. Penske, 1989. Beautiful chassis. European Super Touring, all the stupid, mostly about British touring cars, I think. Mini Cooper and a Jaguar, and another Jaguar, and a BMW, and the Ford Sierra. The Alfa Romeo, caused a lot of controversy in 94 with the splitter. Honda Accord, and some illustration of how they called a car. The Nissan Primera, and of course the Audi A4 with its 4-wheel drive. The Mercedes C-Class with Burt Schneider in it. Australian Super Touring, don't really care that much about it. Oh, look at that, Craig Lowndes upside down. This is Tram Sam. Look at that, another beautiful Audi 100 Quattro. Paul Gentilozzi in the Chevrolet Camaro. Decent looking cars. NASCAR. Don't look any different to today's cars, hilariously enough. Sorry for my fingers getting in the way of everything. I'm really struggling to hold my phone very well. Sports car racing. This is mostly about the Le Mans 24 hours. Mercedes Sauber C9. The Peugeot 905. The BMW V12 NMR. The Nissan 89C, I beg your pardon. The Audi A4. How's that car would go on to be very successful, and then of course the GTs. I think this is the last bit. I'm not going to really look through too much of it. Don't have a clue what most of these cars are. Lotus Elise Sport, the TVR 7.7 litre V12 TVR, and of course continuing it, yeah, of course I've got these old Formula 1 Grand Prix 2007 and 6. To be honest, I should do a second video for this because it's now gone on for about 40 minutes, and you know, I've got the Formula 1 here, more Formula 1 books, but a Formula 1 Racing Green. You know, just a bit of a preview for the next video. So if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe to Crystal Racing, and I'll see you again next time.